imagination. Begin with a spin, traveling through a world of my creation. What we'll find will defy explanation. Or if you want a view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to do it. Wanna change the world? There's nothing to it. There is an old life I know. Play with your imagination. We'll be free if we truly wish to be. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all of the people living for today. Imagine there's no country. I wonder if we can. Nothing to kill or die for. Oh, brotherhood of man. Imagine all of the people living life in peace. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday that you'll join us, and this world will live as one. Someday you will join us, and this world will live as one. Just imagine all the people living life in peace. We and will be in a world of your imagination. Take a look and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin with a spin, traveling through a world of my creation. What we'll find will defy explanation. Oh, if you want a view paradise, simply look around and view it. there is nothing to it. Just imagine all the people living life in peace.
Very cool. Very cool. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest, Gabrielle Stravelli.
Very nice. Hi. Good afternoon.
Yeah, I'm just doing one more thing. Okay, here I am. That was really beautiful. Yeah, for a number of different reasons. Emotionally, really beautiful. Great message. Your instrument is great. You use it wonderfully. The band was great. It's just
Thank you.
great arrangement.
Thank you. Thank you. That is Pat O. So my partner in life and in music, Pat O'Leary, who was on bass there. That is his arrangement. Give him credit for that one.
Yeah, who else is in the band?
So that was actually, Art Hirahara, who's on keys, was a West Coast guy for many. He's been here for many years, but he's originally from the West Coast.
Yeah.
Eric Halverson on drums and Tim Armacost on sax.
Very cool. Is that a steady band for you?
That is a steady band. That's sort of like one of two groups that I work with a lot. And we had a gig together in April, I guess. We did a small live stream, no audience there, and I was just watching that thinking, we haven't been together since then. I miss those guys. We should get together.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
we work together quite a bit.
Yeah. Joyce Glasgow is here. She says hi.
Yay! Hi, Joyce. Fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, and a few other people so far, sometimes people speak and sometimes they don't.
Okay, great.
Yeah, but Dan DeVilla is sharing your discography. Maybe that's like a big discography.
My discography, it's not so big. But I do have some albums.
Yeah, I have to listen to the Willie Nelson one. And Waiting in Vain, is that?
Okay, so Waiting in Vain is from 2011. So that was my very first album. And then I think the next one was Stairway to the Stars, which I put out in 2016, which is sort of with the other, when I said I sort of have two bands that I work with. The other group is a trio, myself, Pat O'Leary on bass, and Michael Kanan, who's a New York-based pianist. So Stairway to the Stars is actually a duo album, myself and Michael. And then the more recent ones, the Willie album is the most recent, is the last thing I released. And then before that, in 2017, I released an album called Dream Ago, which is mostly original material, a few standards.
Really? Cool.
So, yeah. Well, we'll play maybe some videos.
Yeah,
that are songs
definitely
that
like to hear your originals.
So on that album.
Yeah. Are you from New York?
I am originally from New York, and I spent quite a number of years. My family moved to New Jersey. It's very, very typical for New York Italians. And now I've been back in New York, which is kind of frightening, for I think 18 years.
Hey, you know what? I've been here for like almost 45 years. So
hey now.
18 years, nothing. Yeah. But every time I go back to Boston, I feel like I'm from Boston.
Yeah.
So it never goes away,
Yep. So, but I've lived in the Northeast my whole life. And every time I go out to California, I think, why does anybody live in the Northeast? Why do we do this to ourselves? It's so beautiful out here.
Yeah, it's nice.
I love Cali.
Yeah, it's really nice. You have an interesting mixture of style to my ears. You have, I mean, we're all made up of, our histories. But so did you sing in a kind of Broadway things?
Yeah, I mean, I really have a classical technique, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I still, I still study with a voice teacher, and
Yeah.
so yes, I sort of had a windy path. My parents were not.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. It's not terrible, but I hear Pat.
Yes.
Is there?
Would you prefer that he stop doing that?
Well, I don't want to stop his creativity.
He was going to practice a little bit. But if it's driving you nuts, just
well, it's not driving me nuts yet, but
okay,
it
let
might
me
if
know.
it goes on for a while. Okay.
So my parents, there are actually no other musicians in my family that we know who, if there are, we don't know about them. But they were real music lovers, and they played all kinds of music for us in the house when we were growing up. So I just got exposed to a lot of stuff, which I am so grateful for. And there was always a lot of jazz in the house, but it was never I never knew it was an option, like something you could pursue as a career for some reason. And so I was always sang as a kid. So people said to my parents, put her in community theater. And, and that seemed like there's such a clear path for that career.
Yeah.
That I think people tend to know more about. So yeah, I grew up doing community theater, and I went to a conservatory for college. And kind of realized that I didn't love that while I was there. But again, I just, I don't know. I didn't know what else I wanted. I knew I wanted to be in music, and I didn't want to be an opera singer, and I didn't want to be a pop singer. So it was well, I don't know what the other option is. So I did that, and I'm glad I did. There are so many things I learned that I still use, you know what I mean? That translate no matter what kind of music I'm singing. And also just the aspect of acting and connecting to lyric and storytelling. You really, get a lot of that kind of training. So I came out of college, did work some in regional theater and touring, and then just realized I didn't really want to pursue that stuff, but I wanted to stay in music. So I sort of struck out on my own. And I also just had the good fortune to happen upon Nancy Morano, who I'm not sure if you're familiar with.
Oh yeah, totally. She's been here and done workshops.
Yay! Okay. I love her so much. I need to call her. But I started studying with her, and I started studying with Marian Cowings, and started to get into the scene. And actually, Marian, I always thank Marian. He's the reason I'm married, because he was the one who told me to go sit in at the club that Pat plays at. So that's how we met. So yeah, that was around 2008-ish, 7, 8, somewhere around that time, where I started studying jazz. Really started focusing on that and getting into that scene.
I heard that Marion was kind of tough love in his teaching workshops and stuff.
I mean, Nancy's tough love too. I like that.
Yeah.
And I think because when I was in conservatory, those teachers were tough without any love. They were more like Whiplash style of teaching, which I think is just bad for mental health. And I think that the thing, making music and being creative in a way requires, you do have to be tough. You have to be honest with yourself. You need to be critiqued, but you also have to be in a space where you can be vulnerable so that you can make mistakes and then get better.
Yeah.
Whereas at conservatory, you made mistakes and then you got humiliated. So I'm not a big fan of that method of teaching. Whereas Marian and Nancy, I felt like they were tough and they were honest. And but they were never mean. There's no cruelty there. It really is tough love. And I'm really thankful for that, because you get honest feedback. And then when they tell you you're doing when they say that's it, you're really onto something.
Yeah, it's great. And yeah, being a teacher and a student is both, yeah, it comes with its challenges. I mean, being a student, yeah, you have to be vulnerable. And you can only be vulnerable if you trust the teacher. But then you have to move ahead. You have to take it in and think about it and work with it. And students have so many levels of, layers of things, like you can really tap into a student's love for something and have that love backfire in the student, because of the different layers and what that's associated with in them. So you really, and being the teacher, you really have to be empathetic, right?
Yep. Yes. And because I do a fair amount of teaching now, and I always say right up front, like I'm gonna give feedback, and yes, there'll be criticism, but I'm never gonna yell at anybody. I'm never gonna make fun of you. I'm never gonna humiliate. I'm never gonna make you feel stupid, or, I will never do that.
Yeah.
So it was, I learned how not to be with most of the teachers I had in college. And there were some great teachers there too, I have to say.
Yeah. Actually, Marion, I have, well, for 20 years, I created workshops out here. Many workshops, like sometimes 10 a month or more. And not just with me, but with visiting artists or artists from here. And so I did that for years and years. And so anyway, right as the pandemic was starting, Marion was actually coming out here.
Oh, wow.
And so I was going to set up a workshop for him. And he just decided not to, because he was going to Canada as well for a gig. But he canceled that gig because it was just a little too weird. He felt he was older and just needed to be careful,
Yeah.
So I missed out at that moment in time, but maybe he'll come up again.
He's a wonderful teacher. I love him.
Yeah, he's a lovely guy. Yeah, I spoke to him on this show too.
Okay.
Do you improvise? Do you scat?
I do, and that's something I've been working on. So over this last year, I really got back, because I grew up playing piano and French horn, and then I moved away from instruments. But I got much more back into piano playing, and yes, I do improvise. I mean, two things. I really love the idea, I think your second chorus is a great opportunity. That's improvising, that's soloing. That's the way a singer can solo in many ways, just on the lyric. But yes, I do scat, and I've been just trying to really go deeply into the study of that. So it's like, a long process. It's both super intuitive and super complex.
Yeah, and we'll never be finished with it because it's always reflective of the moment.
Mm-hmm.
The moment can be many things.
Yeah.
I like to, actually yesterday I did this, but I have I've had a 6-piece a cappella vocal improv group called Fish to Birds. So are you familiar with Rhiannon?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's kind of, it started with a workshop with her for like 10 years ago. And then we got a group of us together and we started doing it. So yesterday, kind of I call it the Fish to Birds expanded, because it's not really the Fish to Birds group, but it's some of us, and then, with others. There's a lot of it going on here. There's a lot of people who talk about it and do it. And so we got together, and my point was something about, I guess, when you're, like, even in that situation, which is, it has its I don't know what to say, availabilities or something, because you're singing with other people. You know, you're not singing with an instrument, you're singing with other people. So there's something similar, you know, and when you're all improvising together, there's form that comes in, but nobody's mapping it out. It happens in the moment. And so in those situations, many times, you know, something won't work, or you'll be at a loss for what to come up with, you know, that kind of thing. And it's an interesting way to experience improvisation, you know. Of course, I agree with you though on the second chorus, and it always intrigued me growing up as I was learning how to improvise better. Why did I feel so easy about the second chorus and not about scatting? You know?
Yes. And that's so interesting because that is also something I'm sort of exploring now. And I think it's because we still feel, I think, very close to them. We don't lose that thread of the melody when we're singing that second chorus. But again, and I think when we go to scatting, we feel like it has to be all tied to the chord changes. But the truth is actually somewhere in between, right? There used to be, I'm so sad, I just tried to find her name quickly on Facebook, and I'm because I'm blanking on her last name. Oh, Kate Richards Geller.
I was with her yesterday.
Okay, amazing. I figured you guys might know each other. So I, for a while here in New York, I did her like circle singing because I knew, I think I'm not sure if she did, but there were definitely people in that group who had studied with Rhiannon and who like knew that sort of school of improvisation. And I used to love those nights. And Kate
they're really fun.
Such a beautiful facilitator and created beautiful community there. So it's been a long time since I've done that, but I really used to love those classes. And there are still like a couple of things that Kate said, just wise words she offered in those on those evenings that I still think about, that stayed with me.
She's lovely, and it's really fun to sing with her. She's just real tasty what she comes up with, you know. There were 4 of us last night, not a big group, but and one was David Joyce, who's he and his family have been studio singers and background singers, you know, forever, including his dad.
Cool.
And 2 brothers. And he's the head of the vocal department at LA College of Music out here. And it's just a wonderful human being, really wonderful, very open and creative and facilitating, just individual, you know. And then the other person was one of my Fish to Birds member, Ashley Marr, who's she's an amazing woman. She's had a really interesting career, and she had just gotten back from Senegal for 3 weeks, which is a place where she's totally connected to.
Okay.
So, and she's very, very creative, and she's a leader, but she can follow. And it's so, it's great to do that because for so many reasons, but one reason is because you find what you do the best when you're creating in those situations. You know, you see, I like chromatic scales, so I do that, you know, and I like tension notes, you know, so I do that. And it's nice to be supported by the other singers, you know. And of course, that's why we like musicians too, if they support what we do, you know. But in that situation, it's very obvious, you know.
Yeah. Please give Kate my love if you see her.
I will.
When you see her again. And I'm just like, when I come out to LA, can we do something like that, please?
Yes, definitely. Do you do workshops?
Absolutely. Yeah. I've done a lot of workshops traveling and here in New York as well. And I also love teaching because I'm a nerd about this. I could like talk about this stuff all day, so I get excited to like be in a room with other people who want to be nerdy about it. So
Okay, well, when you come out, I'll create a workshop for you. Yeah, and then also we'll get together with Kate and a few other friends and
I would love that.
improvise.
Great.
Hi, Tanya Grubbs. Hello.
Tanya Grubbs. Yay, big hug.
Great singer.
Mhm. And a beautiful lady.
Yes, a
Just
beautiful,
beautiful human
woman.
being.
And with a mate who's a bass player. I mean, I'm sure
I
you guys.
know. So we have that connection. Who is also Jeff is also a beautiful human and a beautiful musician. They're
Yeah, he's a beautiful guy. Yeah, that's so true. Let's see. Well, a few questions I usually ask people, which I think are important and interesting, is like who were some of your all-time favorite jazz singers? People you loved to listen to and maybe still do.
So Ella was the one I grew up with.
Me
There was
too.
some Frank in our house. My dad
Me
loved
too.
Frank Sinatra. My mom had issues with his chauvinism, so she didn't like him as much. Uh,
That's funny.
but Ella, like I feel like every car ride we had, there was some Ella Songbook record playing. And it was so, now I think about like what a great education that was without me realizing it. Cause like I remember loving as a kid, her recording, I think it's a Nelson Riddle arrangement of Midnight Sun, but Lionel Hampton plays a beautiful solo on it. And just like, I used to sing along with that solo. I can like still just remember I haven't listened to it in a long time.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you. This is a really funny story. So me too.
Okay.
Right? And Midnight Sun. That's where I learned Midnight Sun. And then when I started singing Midnight Sun in LA, this pianist, Ross Tompkins, who I eventually ended up recording with, and he was like the singer's accompanist. He had worked on The Tonight Show and just all kinds of stuff. He came to me and he said, "You're singing that wrong." And I said, "What do you mean? I've been singing it forever." He said, "Yeah, you're singing the bridge wrong. It's not in that key." And I said, "Well, I learned it from Ella Fitzgerald." And he said, "Yeah, that was an arrangement."
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you went through. I don't know if that was the same one.
I don't think I like had ever. I just learned it as a kid, and then I didn't sing it for years and years. I never had really worked on it until just a couple of years ago. So I guess and then I learned it from the sheet music. So
Okay.
I didn't have that issue of like learning her arrangement.
I just had to interrupt about
That's
that.
so
That was
weird. I
too
love
funny.
that. We have that connection to that song and that particular arrangement. But I think like how funny I was sort of learning the language without knowing that's what I was doing. But so
Yeah.
Ella was a huge influence as a kid. And then I like in college I went through I fell in love, discovered someone introduced me to Joni Mitchell.
Ah,
And I fell in love with the whole thing, all the way, through to Hijira is like one of my desert island albums. And then I got a job at a record store after college, and again just got into more like discovered Outkast. I don't know,
I
that
don't.
rap group. You would know some of their Hey Ya. You would know some of their big hits, the big hits if you heard them. And just a ton of different stuff that like other people working there introduced me to and stuff that I stumbled upon. I can remember a customer coming in. It's a young guy who I was like, he's really cute, so I'm gonna wait. And I remember, and we had this teeny tiny jazz section in the store. But him being like, "Do you know about this guy, Kurt Elling? He's out of Chicago. He's really good. You should check his albums out." Just before Kurt was like a big star. But the other major one, I guess in my late 20s, somebody gave me a Carmen McRae album called The Great American Songbook, but it's actually a live album. And
Yeah.
I put that record on and my head exploded. I just never heard singing like that. and it's still, I mean, I've listened to that album a gazillion times. And every time I put it on, I feel like I hear something new. I learn something new from it. So
She really was the queen of phrasing. And I mean, I loved all of them, but I have to say that she really was the queen of phrasing. Yeah.
she's
Yeah. Sometimes, like, okay, so in all these hundreds of workshops, that I've put on here and seen a million teachers, everybody pretty much says, don't interrupt the sentence, right? And normally we don't. However, when you listen to Carmen, she can interrupt the sentence. And you're right there as the listener. And why? Because she's so committed to communicating the idea that you're right there with her. You're traveling with her, and when she stops, it doesn't matter. It's like you're right there waiting for the next part of the sentence,
She was brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And I think the Monk record was, I think that was possibly her last record, and that was like one of the greatest records ever,
I adore her. So those are kind of the two big ones of like the greats.
Yeah.
And then there are, of course, living singers who I love. I love Kate McGarry. I'm a big fan of Kate McGarry.
Me too.
And I love Renee Marie. Every time she's in New York, I run to see her. And Janice Segal. I mean, there are so many fantastic singers, but like of the two greats who, you know what I mean, I really tried to absorb all of theirs. And I do think, like, I think of Ella as the sun and Carmen as the moon in a way,
Yeah.
I think together they can kind of teach you everything.
Were you a Sarah fan at all?
I do love Sarah. The interesting thing was when I started studying with Nancy Morano, and I think this is such a cool, wonderful, important thing for a teacher to give to a student. And I try and do this with people when I'm teaching now. She was like, Sarah's not who you need to be listening to right now. Because I had a big voice and I sang a lot and I needed to pare down. I needed to get more comfortable with leaving space. So she, Sarah was not someone I have spent as much time listening to because it was, and now actually more recently I've gotten way more into Sarah.
I think Sarah I liked her better, in her, not her youth, but, and same with Ella, actually. Sarah and Ella, they had this time period that was just, their time. They shone. They were so amazing. Like when Ella did the Frank Sinatra shows together, like on TV shows. I don't know if you ever saw that, but she was in her heyday. Carmen was different. Carmen actually, I think she lasted. She not only had that, but she lasted and she got more interesting in a particular way, And just, when I listened to Carmen in college, I always felt like she was out of tune and I couldn't listen to her very much.
Interesting.
But then later on, I kept listening and I was like, well, I'm not offended anymore. I don't know why,
Yeah, sometimes there were actually some later Joni albums. When I first put them on, I was like, I'm not ready for this.
Yeah.
I had to like put it away for a year and then try again. So.
I don't know. It sounds like you're like me. It took me a while to come across and listen to Dinah Washington, who's like divine.
Divine. My mom loved Dinah Washington, so I had a lot of Dinah in the house and was like, I think, an 8-year-old singing along with Drinking Again, not having any idea. It's kind of hilarious now that I think about it.
Yeah, and I mean, there were some really great singers. I was just gonna go look at my Spotify page where I keep my lists, my public playlists. Is that it? Jazz singers to listen to. Yeah. And then there was like, well, of course, Anita O'Day and
of course, love her.
But but who was I thinking of? I was thinking of, well, Dakota Stanton. She wasn't really talked about a lot.
No, but she's great. She's great. And I think Etta Jones is somebody who's super underappreciated. I love Etta Jones. And especially early Ernestine Anderson,
Yes, Ernestine Anderson. Thank you.
heavenly. And just
Yeah,
like so swinging.
yeah, yeah.
There's I think it's called Ernestine Anderson Swings the Penthouse. It's a live album
Yeah.
and oh my God, it's unbelievable.
You know who sounds great? I mean, all by herself, but you can hear, because I talked with her about this and she listened to Carmen, like really listened. Do you know Nancy Reed?
I know of her, but I don't know her. I really don't
She's on
really
the
know her
she's
singing.
on the East Coast. She's a great
Okay.
bass player
Oh
and a great
wow.
singer. And I first heard about her through Dave Liebman because
Okay.
they had recorded together. And after she told me she listened to Carmen a lot, and then I listened and I could hear it.
Okay.
But I mean, it's totally her, now. But she's a really good singer.
Oh, that's cool. I'll have to check her out.
Yeah, and her husband is a great guitar player,
Okay.
Spencer Reed. He's really good too. I think they're in Pennsylvania.
Okay. Oh, I think I have met her at the Deer Head Inn.
Yeah, yes, they definitely do
Okay.
the
I know
Deer
who
Head.
she is.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, really good.
Hmm.
Um, we haven't mentioned any guy singers.
We haven't. I love Paul
I mean,
Jost.
Kurt.
Jost.
Paul Jost.
I love
I
him.
love
He's
Paul
incredible.
Jost.
Yeah, and he's the best.
Yeah,
Kenny Washington. Okay, Kenny and I
Kenny
have sung together.
Washington.
He and Pat have a really long relationship. They've toured together a bunch. He is
Yeah,
he's just like that voice is
he's
so
kind of like
special.
Mary Stallings to me. They're like they have this quality that Ella had. It's kind of subtle. It's not, you see it and hear it, but it's not in your face. There's these subtleties that are there that are, take a lifetime to develop really inside of you. Yeah, he's really good.
He's a beast of a musician, and I'm so delighted for the Grammy nomination. And I love
Yeah.
him. I love Susanna. I love their kid Miles. We love them so much. We love that whole family.
Yeah.
So Kenny is I think if I had to pick a favorite male singer, I think it would be Kenny.
And of course, Mark Murphy.
Yes, Mark Murphy.
Yeah, I guess we know the male singers too. I have a friend out here. He's Filipino, Mon David, and he sounds kind of like Mark, but he has his own unique. He's kind of a star guy. He's
Okay.
really incredible. So he's, I mean, there are people all over the world as we are finding more and more,
Well,
right?
you made me think of, do you know Toku? Do you know of him?
No.
So he's Japanese. He's really a star on that scene. Beautiful trumpet and flugelhorn player, but also a beautiful singer, and really like has a sound very reminiscent of Kurt Elling. But just a beautiful guy. And I met him when I was in Tokyo a few years ago, and I interviewed him. And he's a fantastic singer.
I'm gonna have to check him out.
I think you would dig him.
Yeah, thank you. Cool. That's really fun. Well, let's listen to something else. Again, I'll share my screen and I will go over to your pages and you tell me.
So I feel like music videos and live performances in there. Oh, well, there's two videos I will suggest. Bicycle Blues is a duet between me and the aforementioned Kenny Washington.
Oh,
And then there's Cake of My Childhood. So Bicycle Blues is a melody by Pat O'Leary and a wonderful New York-based pianist, Ray Gallen, that I wrote lyrics for. And then Cake of My Childhood is a tune I wrote music and lyrics along with Pat. So they'll
okay.
both
Well,
be
we have lots of time, so let's start with Bicycle Blues,
perfect.
and then
And it's a fun video.
then we'll move ahead.
Animated versions of myself and Kenny Washington.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
You came out of the blue, looking too good to be true. I saw you smile, trying to beguile the way heartbreakers do. They say I'm foolish, gonna be outclassed, but my heart is steadfast, 'cause I will spin my wheels, digging my
All right.
heels to have you. You know the saying, all things in their time, all things happen in their own time. Sit back, relax, watch me as I make you mine. Each day you ride on by, don't know if you're strange or shy. We could be talking, maybe take a walk, but I don't even try. I guess it's foolish, you're out of my league, but still your eyes intrigue. For you best believe that up my sleeve I've tricks you. You know the saying, all things in their time, all things happen in their own time. Sit back, relax, watch me as I make you mine.
That's great.
Thank you. I love
Wow.
that video so much.
Yeah, that's really great.
Thank you.
I like when the songs are presented with something to look at. Yeah, I released a few singles this year, and I found that I really enjoyed making iMovies, and yeah, they were fun. And I just think it's nice for people to look and hear. You know.
Agreed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a great. That was great.
Thank you. That's a track off of Dream Ago.
Okay. Yeah. So, where you live in? Where do you live?
We're in Chelsea, here in New York
Okay.
City.
Uh-huh.
So, and I've been in Brooklyn and Uptown, but I've been here in Manhattan almost 6 years now.
Cool.
In this part.
Do you enjoy it?
Yeah. I love New York. I mean, I think because I mean my family has really deep roots here. Like my grandfather literally came from Italy through Ellis Island and settled in Greenwich Village. So we've been here a long time. And also just like I actually like the pace of New York. I'm my own personal rhythm is very in sync. I like the hustle. I like the energy. So I love it here. Um, I love to visit other places, but this feels like for sure.
I think that's Sheila Jordan too, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, obviously she's been there forever,
Mhm.
and yeah, I think she's fine. I had an aunt like that too. My aunt lived right like near the museum. The big museum,
The Met Museum or MoMA
the one where they had, let's see, what was it called?
or Museum of Natural History, that
I
one?
think it might have been the Natural
Okay.
History.
Oh, wow.
So she lived near there, and she just,
Okay.
yep, till the day she died.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Uh-huh.
New York is so interesting because even though it's a city and it has the hustle and bustle, it's like a neighborhood too.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So
Absolutely. Yep.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was hanging out there for the last 2 years for the Jazz Congress.
Okay.
I enjoyed it a lot. I really spent a lot of time in New York.
Okay. So you've
Yeah.
never lived here, Kathy?
No.
Okay. For some reason, I thought you had. Okay.
Yeah. No, I was Boston. I
Got
went
it.
to Berkeley, and then I went to San Francisco, but it was so much like Boston. I was like, nah. So I went to LA, and then I was going to move to New York, but I met my first husband, the Garcia part,
Okay.
and 17 years later, and then you know, and then by then I was just grooved in here,
Mhm.
and I'm sure people have heard me say this before, but I felt I had one of my dear friends was married to Jay Azzolino.
Okay.
He's a guitar player in New
Okay. I don't
York.
really know him.
He's a great player. He's got soul, and he's got modern stuff. He's a really great player. Well, now actually, I think he moved to Rhode Island, but anyway, great player. And his wife was one of my oldest and dearest friends, a singer named Jill Romanow. And so she and I used to, we talked because she ended up in New York. I ended up in LA. And I just felt like in New York, there was this challenge to jump on a wheel that was already turning. And in LA, there was no wheel.
Oh,
And so
wow.
the challenge is to build it.
Got it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I remember reading a book on American Indians, and they described how they described themselves and life had information that included east, west, north, and south, and each of those places had animals related and colors.
Hmm.
For instance, like an eagle could see far, but a mouse could see really close,
Uh-huh.
so that kind of thing.
Oh,
And so I felt like, yeah, that's, the East Coast and the West Coast, especially, in what we're doing, really does have a different feel to it, and
Mhm.
maybe a different lesson.
Yeah. Yep.
Have you spent time anywhere else, like for a length of time?
No, I really haven't. I've traveled a lot, but no, I really haven't lived anywhere for any
Yeah.
length of time. I've been
And where have you traveled?
so I've done some traveling. I've really done more traveling overseas
Yeah.
than I have in the States. I'm like, that's kind of sad. I know other
Well, a lot of
places
people do that all over the
better,
world.
right, than I know my
Yeah.
own country. Because I would
Yeah.
like to, I'd like to explore. I've really never been in the Pacific Northwest, and I really would like to get there. I really would like to experience, um,
It's pretty lovely.
and yeah, just those in Portland. My brother's traveled a lot there for work, and just always talks about how incredible it is. Um, But so I've done a bunch of tours with the State Department, like jazz ambassadors,
Oh yeah, I read
the
that.
broad
Yeah.
program. So we've been some really off the beaten path places, or just places that you don't go as a tourist, like Pakistan, which we loved. Um, a bunch of places in Eastern Europe. Um, a lot of travel throughout Southeast Asia. And in 2019, I got to go to Chile. And that was really my first time in South America, first time in Chile, first time in South America. And I fell in love with it. And I'm so eager to get back there. Um, it's just such a beautiful, beautiful part of the world. We got to go all the way to the south to Patagonia.
Oh.
And it was incredible, just wild. Um, so yeah, so I've been fortunate to do a lot of travel.
Yeah, that's a really pretty, very pretty and passionate area. You
Mhm.
know, I did a workshop several years in, well, it was in, I can't believe, but I always forget all the details. Argentina, or
Okay.
it wasn't Brazil. It, uh, I don't know. It was in the area. I don't know if it was
Peru
in
or
Argentina or around the area. I
okay.
can't remember, but anyway, it was an amazing workshop. It's a week-long workshop, and it's held on an island that you can only get to in the summer because the water goes down, so the
Oh
road
wow.
appears. And the people, I wept when I
Mhm.
left. It tore my heart out to leave them. And actually, who was there? I mean, it was a group. I don't know how many students were there, 100 maybe or less. Anyway, Hermeto Pascual came and he was part of the workshop, and Pedro Aznar, who was the singer with Pat Metheny,
Oh
that
wow.
that kind of singing, that great
Yeah.
singing. He was there, and there was this guy from Brazil who he was an older guy, but he was adored. Well, that's the thing about that area. No matter how old you are, you know the music and you know every word and you can sing
Mhm.
along.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just it's a different experience.
Mhm.
It's immersive and it's really beautiful.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, looking forward to getting back out in the world soon, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. How has the pandemic affected you?
Uh, I mean, I mean,
I love that you laughed. That's a good sign.
we're fortunate because we have a roof over our, we were healthy. Everybody in my family made it through okay, right? You know what I mean? So it's like I can't complain. Did we lose most of our work? Yes. But we're still here to talk about it, so
Yeah, yeah,
we're okay.
yeah,
I mean, teaching work picked up, which
yeah,
was kind of a thing I don't think I expected, but like, and online teaching has its challenges. It's not ideal. This is such a music that you learn through interacting with instrumentalists, and you know what I mean. So they're definitely, I felt like tools I just didn't have at my disposal, but there's a lot you can do anyway. So it was a lot of teaching. There was some, I was fortunate to do some work where we would go to a space and record, but with no audience, and that's great. It never totally didn't feel weird to do a song and then just hear silence when you're. And also, I think that my experience was, living with a fellow musician. I was able to continue making music, whereas, I have friends who didn't have that, aren't partnered with somebody else who makes music. So it was like they hadn't felt they did have much less opportunity, or it was just more complicated. They had to have somebody lay down a track, or so Pat and I did a bunch of Facebook live stuff just here in our living room, and people were so cool and gracious and watched and were generous if they were able to be. So we made the best of it that we could. And things feel like they're slowly picking up again. You know, I picked up a gig last week, day of, and it was like, oh, what's this?
Was it inside or outside?
It was inside. It was
Oh.
yeah. So it was just a dual gig, and it was so nice. Oh,
It's funny, isn't it? It's like at first, it's like, do I remember how to do this? I mean, I can sing, right?
well, that's the other thing. We were also super lucky because there's this place here, the West Bank Cafe, where we played. And Michael and I played all through last summer
Oh,
because they had the restaurant. It was really great. Basically nobody was eating inside. I think there was no indoor dining, but they're right on 42nd Street where the sidewalk is sort of wide enough that they have a nice amount of outdoor seating. And the front of the restaurant, the windows open up totally. So we were able to just play inside facing the street. So
cool.
we did that gig every week all through the summer
Oh,
until they closed the restaurants again late fall. And then we picked up again this past Valentine's Day. So we've been there every week too. And it's just been such a lifeline for us to feel like we can keep those chops up and yeah. So it's
yeah.
we've been very lucky.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting challenges. I think because we're improvisationalists in the, that we don't have that much trouble. I mean,
Yeah.
I always talk about this with my husband is interesting because he was the lighting board operator on the Tonight Show for 20 years.
Oh my God.
So he has to be somewhat musical, because he's
Huh?
lighting the bands
Sure.
and,
Okay.
arranging and creative, right? But he never thought of himself as an artist. Never.
Mm.
So so there we've had many conversations about that. And let's see, what was I going to say? I'm sorry. I was thinking about
Pivoting or improvising during the
oh,
pandemic.
improvising. Yeah. So even though he improvised every single day, he
Hmm.
didn't think of it like that.
Hmm.
And you know, you know, I've thought of improvisation as a way of life forever. I mean, not that I'll improvise, I'll scat every day. It's that
Right.
the relationship of improvisation to life is
Yep.
very obvious to me. So we've had many discussions about that, and I'm breaking him down because
Yeah.
he's just straighter than I am. I'm a lot looser. And I'm not saying either one is better because they each have their interesting points. But that is one way that I can help him is to encourage him and kind of open the door more to the idea that every day is an improvisation.
Hmm. Well, and I also felt like I was, and I think just freelance creatives in general were sort of uniquely positioned to weather this whole thing. Actually, even though we lost the work that we do wasn't happening, um, I was already used to having to structure my own days.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean? So I just kept doing that right through lockdown. That this big, I think for people who have 9 to 5 jobs or go to an office or sort of aren't used to creating structure and improvise, creating work, it was a lot weirder of like, oh my God, I just have this day ahead of me and what the heck do I do with it? It was like,
yeah,
well, I already have to do that anyway.
yeah, I
So
agree.
it didn't, that aspect of it didn't feel as jarring, I think, for people like us.
Yeah, I agree. Interestingly enough, I talked to some people who were connected to orchestras, and they said a lot of orchestra people were having difficulty because,
Hmm.
you know, I am a violinist in the orchestra, and then now what am I? Who am I?
Wow.
And so it's not just that you're a musician. It's what you said. It's you're used to um, creating your own time and
Mhm.
and jobs. I always thought that was really this is like kind of off the point, but I always thought, like when I used to apply for credit, you know, and then they would say, "Oh, well, you're just a musician," and I'd say, "What do you mean? I'm actually surviving all
Uh-huh.
the time, and I don't pay my bills late. So why
Right.
wouldn't you say, yeah? Why wouldn't
Right.
you know?
Right. Yep. It's like if I'm able to do that basically as my own small business, then
Yeah,
like that's even more impressive than,
like right. I am a manager. I'm cool. I'm very, I'm together, man.
yep.
Um, do you feel what do you this is kind of a broad question, but what do you tell young artists coming up? Do you do you find that you are trying, not trying in a bad way, but do you feel like you have an intention of giving them some kind of information, that would, you know, help them, benefit them?
Mm, God, I feel like I do, and but I'm like, what the hell is it? Um, yes, because I have some younger folks in my life who are lovely and have come to me, or people, younger folks who I teach, who I try to share whatever I've managed to figure out at this point. God, what do what do I tell these people? Um,
I know this is kind of a deep question for an off the cuff answer, but
yeah, that's
I
okay.
guess it's just like, do you find yourself, and it doesn't have to be necessarily with young people, but do you find yourself uh, offering a particular area of information of life or music?
Yes. And thank you for helping to guide pull this out of me. I think one of the things that I try to offer to just anybody who's like coming up, young or not young, whatever stage of the game they're getting, they're sort of starting their journey. Um, because this has been such a big thing for me, and it's really about like not forcing yourself into any box that you may feel the industry wants to put you in, because I'm definitely not. Even when I was in the musical theater world, I did not fit into any boxes in that world, because I'm just, yeah, I'm not an ingenue, but I'm not a true character person either. I never was like a real solid type. My voice didn't necessarily match what I looked like. And that made me in some ways hard to cast. And then that there were the jobs I got, it was like you were the only person who was right for this.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so, and then when I started working, moving more into the jazz scene, it was like, well, because I do have a lot of influences. There are a lot of different sounds in my sound. There are a lot of different things that I'm interested in doing. And so I think that's something that I tried to just remind people that that's okay. And sometimes, you're when you're creating the box, that can be more challenging, but I think I think Kate McGarry is sort of a beautiful example of somebody who's done that. I think Renee Marie, I mean, she like had her own one woman show, and she does a lot of interesting out of the box stuff. So there's room for all kinds of people. And I just don't think I don't know. I don't think that trying to squeeze yourself into something will ultimately lead to a fulfilling experience. Um, so I think that's a big thing
Yeah.
for me. And I think from like a more like teachery technical standpoint, I'm a big believer in just like also studying jazz and studying the style, but also really, really knowing your instrument and just studying voice and having a foundational technique that can allow you to go wherever you want to go.
Cool. Yeah, that's great. And, first of all, in those hundreds of people who came here for workshops, one thing I noticed over and over again was that everybody, all the professionals could observe somebody getting up and see the same things from the student, right? But their approach for helping or fixing or whatever you want to say actually came out of what like a problem that they had in their life that they went through and fixed. So kind of like what you were saying, not that it was a problem, but it was a very deep experience for you that you went through, and I always thought that was really interesting. Also, some of the colleges I taught in, we would have these open student workshops, I guess you could call them, with jazz and classical. And again, all the teachers saw the same thing, but we were coming from such different places, So yeah, that's an interesting point about that. And I think it also, you'd think after, I just turned 68, you'd think after all of this time in life and doing music that I would know all these answers and questions, but thankfully that's not true. But I think it also relates, and this may be a kind of an observation, but I think it kind of also relates to who you are as a singer as well. What you want to impart to somebody, what you're trying to impart, and who are you as a singer, and what's your best thing that you can tap into. I'm always thinking of that, and I'm always trying to do that balance of not thinking too much, going there, knowing what it is that certain elements that help me get there. For instance, just one thing, I like long intros. The band play long intros. I hate 4-bar or 8-bar intros because it feels like it's all about me, Okay, here you go, and if it's longer, then the musicians kind of all of a sudden they breathe, it's like they're getting ready, and then I don't come in and it's like, oh, they breathe, they create a palette that I can actually be creative and come in on. So things like that are, for me, it's like, okay, I know that works good, for me and the musicians,
Yep. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Let's see. Speaking of that, how do you, let's see, do you think about that stuff? Like, do you think about making your music unique? Do you think, and if so, what do you think makes your music unique? What are some of the elements?
Wow. Yes. Yeah. I guess we all. I think. Well, I will say. I think the cool thing about. All right. So I think the cool thing. I feel like I was just talking about this in a class. That I do think the interesting thing about singing standards is that the songs are so beautiful. They're so sturdy. They're kind of, they stand up to so many treatments, and I think that even though they've been done a gazillion times, there's always opportunity if you can really get inside the story to give like a totally individual interpretation. You know what I mean? Some like just a a take on it, and not even that you have to be like reinventing the song, but just that the story of it is coming so genuinely from you and your life experience, that it sort of feels new in a way. And I was saying that I had gone to see, do you know Steve Ross?
No, I don't.
So he's really like a player in the vein of like Bobby Short, sort of more in that world. I guess that's cabaret, but I'm not even sure. It's like not even cabaret. It's its own thing.
Yeah.
And like Bobby Short, Barbara Carroll, that's that sort of tradition of like very elegant singing and playing of standard material. And
Uh-huh.
he's based in New York, Steve Ross. And I went to see him a number of years ago at Birdland, and he sang "I've Got You Under My Skin," but he did this beautiful sort of like a rumba version, and just the way he did it, um, I felt like I was hearing that lyric for the very first time. It was so extraordinary,
Wow.
and the experience, experiencing that, his performance of that tune, and just feeling like I was hearing this song for the first time made such a deep impression on me.
Yeah.
And really drove home that point of like there's just always room to offer something of you in these songs, the standards. And then I think when I do original stuff, then I think then you're really also, that's another beautiful way of really sharing your life's orientation, in the lyrics that you write, and or the melodies, and what you choose to write about, and how you present it, visually, and the form, how much is there a lot of instrumental soloing, and so forth and so on. So yeah, I think we take all of that stuff into account, and I do think that, like you, I'm a big, I like the aesthetics. I'm super specific about what I want stuff to look like. So yeah, I feel like I really get things across in that way too, how I present things.
Cool. Hey, let's listen to that that original that you
Okay.
talked about. Let's see.
So if you scroll to the right, was that your right? Of that same playlist. Where are you? Is that,
Okay.
oh, there it is. Yep, and that's the studio version. So this is the recording
Good to
from
go.
the album.
Great. Okay.
Oh, that's a separate
My
video, Cathy. The one that's
childhood
playing.
tastes of cotton.
Wait.
That's so weird. I don't know why.
So if I'm playing it,
Candy, lemon, and lime. As only good.
is that right?
I haven't watched it in a long time. Wow, this feels so weird. I saw you click on it.
Yeah, like here I click on it right now.
Ow.
Childhood, I'm running wild for the very first time. That's the cake of my childhood.
But this is
Taste of cotton.
But you shouldn't be like talking here or something.
No, yeah, that's so weird. I'm looking at my channel just to make sure it's the right one. That is very strange. And if not, if you want to play a different video while I look for cake, I can give you something that I think the whole Willie project was very unique. So I can suggest a video from that project.
Okay.
You want to do that?
Sure.
Okay. So I am suggesting there is a playlist of the Willie albums, of all these videos from the Willie album. Or if you want to look
Like here, pick up my
viewful playlist, that should be it. Yes, so if that's a playlist. Oh, that's it. Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys.
Oh, great. Okay.
That's the one. Okay, and I will look for Cake and see what the heck is going on here.
Okay.
Cowboys ain't easy to love, and they're harder to hold. They'd rather give you a song than diamonds or gold. Don't start up buckles, no faded Levi's. Each night begins a new day. If you don't understand him and he don't die young, he'll probably just ride away. Mama, don't let your baby grow up to be cowboys. Don't you let them pick guitars and drive them on trucks. Let them be doctors and lawyers and judges. Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. 'Cause they'll never stay home, and they're always alone. Keep them with someone they love. Cowboys like smoky old school roofs and clear mountain foreheads. Little warm puppies, children, and girls of the night. Them that don't know him won't like him, and them that do probably won't know how to take him. You know, he's just different. Let's try to let him do things to make you think that he's right. Don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. Don't you let them pick guitars and drive them old trucks. Let them be
great.
Thank you, John.
Oh man, that's great. Very Ella. Holy moly. As an Ella person, man, I definitely heard Ella. That's really cool. Wow, that was awesome.
Thank you. I heard that song when we were trying to, choose material for the Willie project, and I heard the lyrics to that song, and I was like, this description of cowboys could easily be a description of jazz musicians, so we have to include this.
Right. I heard the I saw and heard the like don't let your
So that's one of my fave things that came out of that project. I really like that one.
Very
And John Allred is just such
very
an incredible
swinging,
player.
wonderful. And I have to say your man is just again, I have to say, I love his playing.
Thank you.
You're really friggin' smoking, man. He's so
Oh.
solid and moving. It's really great.
Thank you. I will pass that along to him. He will appreciate that. And again, all the arrangements on that album are his. So
It's great.
he's a super special human.
Yeah. And curious, so obviously there were parts that you were singing that were written as far as the scat.
Whole thing was a big vocalese. That whole thing. We had, so Josh Richmond was on piano. I don't know if you could see him, but he was the pianist on that project. And I had said, when we were doing that arrangement, I said to him, I just want you to record yourself improvising on a bunch of choruses. And then we took some of what he played and harmonized it and sort of shaped it into a vocalese for me to sing.
That's really great.
Thank
It's
you.
really challenging. I know it's
worked
challenging.
my butt off.
I'm sure you did. And I did hear kind of Ella's pronunciation.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And, yeah. I mean, it's great. I mean, that was absolutely awesome. That was
Thank
really
you.
a tremendous accomplishment. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Really great.
Thank you very much. And I figured out what was happening with the cake video. So
Oh, good. So,
we just had, when you want to play that again, we just need to go about a minute in, and then actually the song proper starts, which is also
okay.
a good discovery for me. I will edit that video after we're done.
see, improvisation, it happens.
Thank you for rolling with that. Sorry about that.
Oh, yeah. And Joyce says, how about listening to that Sondheim song you did for the online concert a while back?
Oh, wow. That's so funny. We can. It's a very different manner of singing. I don't know. I'm like, are there other things I would rather?
Well, I do want to hear the cake song, so that'll be next.
Okay, great.
Yeah. What do you think? This is another one of those deep, huge, vague questions. What do you think drives you?
Wow. Well, what a great question that is. Oh man. Okay. That's such a great question. And well, okay. I mean, I always sang, always. So I think a little bit, and I know I should like be waving a sage stick or like holding a crystal while I say this, but a little bit. I'm like, I think some people, like, you come in to this world with some stuff,
Yeah.
It feels a little bit like it just was something that I came here with, because I always sang and loved music and loved to play. So a little bit, I think there's just I don't know what it is, what the word is, innate, or you know what I mean? Something in me that
I do know what you mean.
that's just the thing that I love. What drives me? I mean, I'm also a perfectionist. I'm a Virgo. I'm a perfectionist. That drives me. The pursuit of I'm always trying to get better. That really drives me.
Yeah.
Go deeper, get better. That's a big driver for me. And I also, like I was saying before about like my energy matches New York. I have a really I don't think I'm hyper, but I'm an active person, and my mom is like that. Her father was like that. Like people who always want to be working on something.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I think that drives me as well. Um, yeah. So I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, that's fine. I sat down and watched Soul the other night,
Hmm.
and hold that thought.
Mhm.
And and there was, the kind of last point that it made in the movie was that that spark, what's your spark and what's your purpose can be different things.
Ah, that's
And I thought about that. I really did. I was like, is that true, or is that true for me, or what? I mean, because it's a big message in the movie, and so I was trying to imagine little kids kind of trying to get that.
right. I heard great things about that movie. I haven't seen it,
It
but I
was
should
enjoyable.
watch
I mean,
it.
it's kind of it's I don't know if it's a girl movie or a kid movie or something, but it's an enjoyable movie, and it definitely brought jazz into the frame.
Hey.
You know,
Hmm.
incredible, right?
Yep. Right. Oh, that's very cool. I think the other thing is that the other thing that drives me, is that I really do believe, wholeheartedly in that, like, music and the stories we tell through music help people process the human experience, and I think that's really, really like a real thing, and really important. So I often feel like I'm not a person who necessarily, like, my songs don't like have a message per se. That's not my thing, but I think there's an underlying um thing of just like everything we play and sing about um touches on like universal emotions and experiences. And
Yeah, and also I agree with you. And also I think when the artist really accomplishes being the best artist they can,
mm,
like especially in music, because there's many things that have to happen to come to the result of really what's perfection.
mhm,
You know, like knowing yourself, being good at all of the stuff, and then being able to open up, being able to be in the moment, relate to people, to reach that truth. And that process, no matter how you look at it, experience it, or break it apart as a listener, that process is really important um, to witness,
mm,
and it really allows the listener. There's something that it allows the listener to absorb and be kind to themselves because they see it happening, and
yep.
get it. So I really think that's part of what the artist's responsibility is.
Yep, and I think that's a great way of saying it too, that it allows people to be kind to themselves because it's like
Yeah,
we give permission to people to
yeah,
acknowledge what they're feeling.
yeah, 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 man, we are fucking cool.
Right? And we're essential.
We are essential.
Sure.
I always say that there probably should have been a planet or there is a planet where we are essential. We
Uh-huh.
have the positions of power because we reflect what's going on in the world, and you know give
And shine
a
a light
lead.
on it too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe on another planet.
Let's go. Let's find it and go.
um, have you ever considered what you would do if you didn't do music?
Um, I have not ever really seriously considered that. But I do love, I mean, I really love um clothing, and not in like I'm very serious about, like, I really love looking at what people wear, taking in what people wear, because I just believe that, like, clothing is costume, and it's, in that it's like how you see yourself and want to present yourself to the world. Even if it's like I don't do fashion and you're all normcore, that is its own statement of how you move through stuff, and I love that, and I love color and line and design. So I think I might be in graphic design or something. That stuff. I love that stuff. I never get tired of that. I could work in a flower shop. I love flowers. And then the other thing, of course, is that I am fascinated by space travel. Just the whole idea of like leaving the Earth's atmosphere. So it's like graphic design or an astronaut. That's normal. That's not a leap. Who knows? Maybe there'll be a call for a singing astronaut someday.
Hey, or singing on Mars or something. Right. I mean, that could happen maybe when you're 82 or something. Oh my God. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we did not plan our coordination.
I know.
We just showed up like this. And your shirt is very beautiful.
Thank you. Well, I love, as you can see, color and pattern. Our house is full of color and pattern. So.
Yeah.
A minimalist, I am not.
Oh God. I've been working on my house all year in various ways, and lots of trying to throw things away,
As we all have.
Oh my God. And I recently moved into the back room in my house. This was a room that my mother lived in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she came to live with us for about 9 years. And it's a nice sized bedroom. And finally, in the last month, I ended up back here, and there, it's a lot of space, but I was looking at the walls, and it felt really good to be empty. But as you can see, I started filling them up.
I love it.
So, yeah, even in our living room, we got rid of a few couches, which included our living room furniture. And we were like, should we get a couch? Right. I mean, it feels really good in here, but of course, because pre-COVID, we had great parties with lots of people. Okay. And, you got to have a couch in the living room and a chair.
I know. Yep.
So, yeah. So we bought one, and it'll be here, in a few weeks, but yeah, but the feeling of, space and clearing out. I mean, I know so many people have been working through that this year.
Yep. Yeah. But we only pared down so much. We like our stuff.
Well, you can only throw out what you're ready to throw out too. I mean, I've definitely learned that, it's just, no, I'm not ready to throw that out. And then maybe in a year, I'll be ready to throw that out then, and that's okay. It's fine.
Yeah. And I'm very into organized clutter. I'm actually very neat.
Yeah.
With a lot of stuff,
so
I'm kind of, I don't want it to be lots of stuff all over the place. It has to be like arranged.
In its place. Yeah. Yes. Let's hear the song now.
Okay. So if you I think it's like 58 seconds in, the song will start. Thank you, Cathy.
Yeah. Let's see. So, and that's that, and then
there it is.
Okay. And then,
good to go.
It's about, you said about
58 seconds, a minute, and we'll be there. You will hear that very same little
cake of my childhood, taste that of cotton candy, lemon and lime. As only good childhood, I'm running wild for the very first time. Take my word, little one, he said, someday some fool will try to school ya. They'll put you down if they can, tell you that the world belongs to a man. But you know just what to do. Show them all you got and tell them I can cook too. If you conceive it, then just believe it. You do well to go and give them hell. Cake of my childhood, tasting of cotton candy, lemon and lime. As only good childhood, I'm running wild for the very someday some fool will try to school you. They'll put you down if they can, tell you that the world belongs to a man. But you know just what to do. Show 'em all you got and tell 'em I can cook too. If you can see that, then just believe it. You do well to go and give them hell. Cake of my childhood, tasting of cotton candy, lemon and lime. As only a child would, I'm running wild for the very first time. As only a child would, I am running wild for the very first time.
Wow, that's a great song. Yeah, you
you.
write wonderfully.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I've really gotten into it the last couple of years. I really enjoy it. And you feel a different sense of ownership over that stuff than you do when you're interpreting somebody else's stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Do you find yourself writing different styles also?
Yeah, I mean that
Yeah.
album is kind of, has a lot of different styles, for sure. Yeah, and lately I've been doing more writing lyrics to Friends tune. Art here, the piano player in that video, who's on that album. I wrote lyrics to a tune of his, and Tim Armacost. I've written lyrics to a couple of his songs, so that's something I really enjoy doing.
That's cool.
Yeah, I like the challenge of having to fit into that existing melody.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, writing is it's interesting. I haven't been writing in the last few months because I've been really busy. I guess because I've been those juices I've been in the studio a lot producing and also for myself. So I feel like, the writing has, and also just fixing my house stuff. But yeah, I've written maybe 60 songs.
Wow.
And yeah, and I've written some lyrics to various people's songs. Actually, I wrote one to one of Pat Metheny's songs that he loves, and he gave me permission to
Nice.
publish it. Yeah, and yeah, and I always I always qualify when people say, "Would you like to write some lyrics for this song?" I always say, "Well, I'm kind of an abstract lyricist, I mean, not totally disconnected, but I'm kind of, I don't know, spiritual in what I come up with, So if you're okay with that, I will do that, because I'm not gonna, I just don't I don't consider that I write kind of straight,
Well, and for me too, I always try and give the disclaimer of like, I will try my hand at writing lyrics for this tune. Sometimes it just doesn't happen, and that's not.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not a comment on your song. It's a beautiful tune, Sometimes it clicks, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
And for me, I felt like in the beginning of the pandemic, I went many months I would try to write and just like couldn't get anything down.
Oh yeah,
And more
definitely.
recently, I've really felt way more just ease. I just can like feel like I'm finding the flow again,
Yeah.
which feels
Yeah.
good.
You know who's written a lot of great songs? You probably know Mancio. Georgia Mancio.
Her name, I don't
She's
know.
from England.
Okay.
You'd like her. She's a really good singer, a really nice person, lovely. And she wrote with I think it's Alan Broadbent.
Okay.
I have to go look for that. But yeah, I just want to tell you about that because you'd probably admire Georgia Mancio and yeah, Alan Broadbent. So they've actually been working on, like, I think they came out with a project together, and she's written beautiful lyrics to his music, really beautiful.
Oh wow! And how do you spell her last name? Manc or SIO?
Yeah, CIO.
CIO. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll look for that. I'm gonna write that on a note.
Yeah.
Georgia is her first name.
Georgia. Sorry, Georgia Mancio. Yeah.
Thank
Gosh.
you. Georgia Mancio.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. All right, I'll check her out.
Yeah. I know the answer to this already, I think. Have you ever wanted to give up singing?
Oh my God. So many times. So many times. Yeah, and that's also something I think I should try to share with students of like, there are definitely days or gigs wherever where it's like, I quit. This isn't working. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Sorry for the language. You know, or like, yeah, or just like, this was the worst idea ever. This should, why did I want to pursue this? Yeah. And then we pick up again the next day.
I remember one of my friends, I went to see her and it was a great night, you know, and I said, "Oh my God, that was really great. You just sounded great." She said, "Thank God, because last night I wanted to quit."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I had a very similar experience. I had like a gig at Birdland that ended up going very well. And a couple of like fancy people had come to see it. And one of them was talking to me and being very sweet. And I was like, I'm so glad it worked out because earlier today I quit singing. So I'm glad tonight went well. And he was like, girl, I quit every day. Don't feel bad. I quit and start again every day.
It's nice to, you know. Hey, tell us about your show. And Joyce actually asked, are you bringing back your online interview show? Which is a lot like this, but you're like that Virgo thing. The beginning of it is really, see, I'm a Gemini. So I can't, I mean, maybe I could do that in the beginning, like you introduce it, you introduce yourself, you have the tip jar, you know, it's just like, there's about 5 minutes of that. And then you go into this, you know, like a very kind of warm, casual conversation.
Thank you. When's your birthday, Gemini?
May 28th.
Okay. My best friend is a Gemini. So, and it's good. We're very yin and yang. She's the loosey-goosey, and I'm the like, we have to focus and we have to finish this.
Well,
stuff.
that's how my husband and I are too. But, oh, by the way, you know who it has my birthday, or maybe I have his. He's younger than me. Theo Bleckman.
Oh my God. That's a good birthday twin to have for sure.
Yeah.
And Pat is an Aquarian, so he's also, you know.
That's really good.
It is good.
I get along great with Aquarians.
Okay, that balance is important and good for me. But and I did have, so I had another very type A woman working with me on this show on the early set, Julie Garnier. So she really helped make all those graphics look great, and she was really like technically producing the show.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we'll bring it back. I'm sorry for the non-answer, Joyce. I don't know that Julie and I just spent a lot of time each week preparing the episodes. And it started to feel like it was taking away from my music work. So I just wanted to like, and I think I started to feel more inspired. There was music that wanted to be made, and I wanted to like give that my full attention. But it
how many shows did you do?
I think we did 24 episodes. They were just once a week for a couple of months, and we had, the thing was, I mean, everybody we had on was just such an incredible guest and shared so much and gave so many beautiful insights. Just like really gave them themselves. And we had, I do know Damian Sneed because I think you would love him.
Oh, Damian Sneed. Okay.
Sneed.
Okay.
He was, I think, our second or third guest. We had Janice Siegel and Lauren Kinnan were our first guests, and they're
I had both of them.
Hilarious and the best.
Yeah.
Marcus Printup came on and brought his horn and like played and demonstrated and was just, and had, you know, just beautiful things to say. And Dina DeRose, Anne Hampton Calloway, Benny Benek, Toku was a guest. Aisha and Darius DeHaas.
Oh yeah, that was the one I actually watched.
I adore. Aisha is actually a neighbor of mine. And I've really gotten to know Darius through her. I'm obsessed with Andy Bay. Andy Bay is one of my favorite singers of all time.
Me too. I mean, and it's funny. I mean, people like you and I know Andy Bay, but
Right.
I mean, I think he's underknown, and
He is.
he's like one of the kings.
Absolutely.
And he's
Yeah.
live.
Speaking of male singers, I mean,
Yeah.
and that was the amazing thing. I guess it was 2019. He had a residency at oh geez.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
that place in
right.
Tribeca. Wow,
Right.
I'm blanking on the name of it.
I remember
Um,
hearing about that.
But I
Yeah.
went down every week I could get there. I got there
Yeah.
and just sat in awe of this man.
Yeah.
With just this gorgeous voice and beautiful playing, and you know,
Yeah,
everything.
his playing arrangement slash, and he's subtle. He's like Ella and all those people.
Mhm.
He's it's not hit your face obvious. It's subtle stuff. Yeah, he's a treasure. He really is a treasure.
Truly.
And he and his sisters. I remember when I first heard the Bay, well,
Mhm.
besides years ago, I heard them with Horace Silver. And I didn't know who they were, but they really made an impression on me. But then years later, I mean, kind of in more recent times, I heard, and I think you introduced me, but Andy Bay and his sisters as the group, which blew my mind too, because they are singing what he's singing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They didn't like create this 3-part harmony. No,
Uh-huh.
they created harmony to his styling,
True.
which is it's totally rare, to do
Incredible.
that.
No,
Yeah.
they're an incredible group.
Yeah.
And each of them individually, they were all beautiful
Yeah.
singers, just
Yeah.
as soloists.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was really, I loved the conversation. I loved getting, Cheryl Benteen. I mean, just I was so
Yeah, she's
lucky.
so great. Yeah.
So great. I just fell in love with her just as a person.
She's so warm.
Warm.
And
so
she's a great
warm.
teacher too, by the way.
I'll
Yeah.
bet she is.
She is. She's very warm. She sees what's going on. She has good things to say. And people people do well with her. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I gotta come back out to the West Coast because there's a lot of people I really love and would like to see. So it was a great experience. It was a great experience for me. I don't know. I'm not saying we won't bring it back. I'm just not sure
Yeah.
when that'll happen.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But it's on hold for now. But it was really a great experience for sure.
Yeah. That's great. I have to laugh a little. I have another friend who does a show every 2 weeks. Sonny Wilkinson. Are you familiar with her?
No, I don't know her.
She's from Michigan, and she's been a dear friend of mine for many years, and wonderful singer. And her husband is a wonderful pianist, and they've both been teachers in the whole university system there. And her husband, Ron Newman, really is like classical and jazz. And actually, they have a son now who's in his early 20s, and he's brilliant, and he's off into that world as well, composing classical music. It's really interesting. But anyway, so she does a show too that's really good. She's a great communicator.
Nice.
And
I'm writing her name
because she's
down
my
as
friend.
well.
Because she's my friend and she didn't want to interrupt my show and she wanted to share the audience, she does it every 2 weeks on a Monday at 11 my time. So that I can actually see it and people,
That's so great.
But yeah, she's really personable, really, really personable. And she highlights Michigan artists, which is really interesting because again, we tend not to think of some place in the Midwest, if you want to call that the Midwest. It's actually kind of the Mideast. Right. But you don't tend to think that there's a lot of action there, but there is. There's a tremendous amount of action there. So yeah, it's really good, but I have to laugh at myself because when I hear that, like it took a lot, and It doesn't take me.
That's great. I mean,
The only thing that takes me a while is the PR part of it,
sure,
because
sure.
doing all
I
this PR.
know.
But I do have a social media guy that helps me too.
Okay.
But I do read the bios, but then and then sometimes I go a little deeper, but I don't prepare that much because
Okay.
I'm a Gemini.
Exactly.
It's
And
just
I
like
have to prepare a lot because I'm a Virgo.
it's pretty funny, isn't it? Yeah, it's really interesting. So, okay, so I want to ask you what you're doing now, and what can people, key into what you're doing, and
So we've got this. If you're in New York, we have this live gig every Saturday night, 8 to 10 at the West Bank Cafe on 42nd and 9th. So come see us there, which has been great. And then, I mean, it looks like in the fall, I'm going to be in the Midwest. Is St. Louis the Midwest? I don't know. It's just all the Midwest. It's not on a coast. It's just mid or south. The Midwest. So I'll be doing, hopefully that will stick, and because that date has been pushed back, keeps getting pushed back because of COVID. So hopefully that will happen in the fall. And then we just, got little things here and there here in New York coming up. So like I said, it's slowly picking up.
Cool.
So
And will you do online things? Should people kind of clue into your
yeah.
website or
Yes,
your
everything. I'm
page?
trying. There's something I'm forgetting. Oh yeah, there's an online concert that I'm a part of on the 24th of June, which is really I've done it. It's been happening for 8 or 9 years, and I've done it maybe 2 or 3 times. It's called Night of a Thousand Judies, and it's an online benefit for the Ali Forney Center, which I believe is based here in New York, and they support LGBTQ plus homeless youth. They're an incredible
Oh,
organization, and this is a
nice.
big benefit concert for them that is happening online this year. And it's a great Alan Cumming is doing it, and Duchess is it. It's a wide range of performers. Duchess and Jane Monheit and myself, and then there are theater people, Mary Testa, but a great lineup, and we'll all be doing songs that Judy Garland sang, which is like
Oh, wow.
everything and anything in the songbook. Was looking for her songs, and I was like, wow, she's like Frank Sinatra. She sang everything. So that is coming up, and that's free to stream. And I listed the info for that on my website. And then we have the live thing on Saturdays. There's something else I'm forgetting, but it's all on my website, and I post a lot on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm easy to find. I'm just Gabrielle Stravelli everywhere you look.
I'm just Gabrielle Stravelli.
It's not a common name, so I'm easy to track down in that.
Okay. By the way, if you look at Facebook after this, my friend Dan DeVilla posted Georgia Mancio and Alan
Oh,
Broadbent.
great, good. Thank you,
There's a
Dan.
band
Great,
camp thing. Yeah.
perfect. Okay,
Yeah.
so I can check them out. Awesome.
I'm just going to tell people before we get off that here's where I finish off like you.
Great.
So the 4 days a week that I do archives is Thursday through Sunday. So tomorrow I'll have Michael Steffens, who's a drummer, author, and educator. Actually, he lives in New York, upstate New York.
Oh, okay.
And then Friday, Sherry Williams, who's a singer and a curator, and she's always kind of been like a Nancy Wilson, very elegant, really good musical singer. Saturday, Tom Meek, who's a writer, and he's the editor for LAjazz.com, which is
Oh,
basically our online newspaper now.
okay.
Used to be a real newspaper. And then Sunday, Jacques Lejour, he's a really interesting man. He's a great guitar player, and he's kind of a philosopher, and he calls it, I can't remember what he calls it. He has a new name for philosophy.
Okay.
And then next week, I'll just quickly say only the three live people, but I'm going to have John DeVersa on again, but this time with Justin Morell, a sax player that he and Justin have come out with a new project.
Hmm.
And that's going to be really cool because John DeVersa's, he's the bomb. Do you know him?
I don't.
Oh, he's an amazing player.
Okay.
He's a great trumpet player, and he is an amazing composer and band leader. He's done amazing projects. He was in LA for a long time, and he always did the big concerts, that, and then he became, I think is he dean of the music department at Miami University? I can't remember,
Okay.
but he really is a stunning a musician, and his dad, Jay DeVersa, was also very ensconced in the scene,
Okay.
the music scene
Cool.
here. And then you probably know Akua Dixon, right?
I know the name. I
Yeah,
don't know them personally.
okay. So she's New York, and she's a cellist, a jazz cellist.
Okay, cool.
She's really cool. She's done a lot of good stuff. I mean, the only person I know from there, who's been a jazz cellist who I've known is Shauna Tucker.
Okay. Well, I know Pat O'Leary plays jazz cello.
Well, what do you know?
Mhm.
I bet he knows Akua too.
I wonder. Y'all have to ask him.
Yeah. And then Wednesday will be one of the all-time best big band arrangers ever, Tom Kubis. He's definitely a West Coast guy, but
Okay.
I mean, for years, 40 years or something, he has, and it's not like boring big band. It is like slamming. He's really an amazing arranger. So anyway, those are my 3 live guests.
Wow, how fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great. Excellent.
So so thank you so much for being on. Thanks for giving me 2 hours. I know it's a long time.
No, thank you for having me. I loved it. Thank you.
Yeah. Good luck to you. I'll keep an ear out on your career and what's happening.
Let's keep in touch. Yes, please.
Have a good gig Saturday night. And if you're in LA, I'm actually working Saturday night too. It's one of my 2 nights a month in Playa Vista at the conference room. Please call and make a reservation if you're coming. Great food. And it's a jam session, believe it or not.
Wow.
So if
Great.
people feel comfortable, it's a jam session, and
Nice.
it's been going great.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I hope to meet you in person before too long, Kat.
I know. Don't forget, if you're going to come out here, let me know.
Okay, will do.
Okay. Nice to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Likewise. Thank you. Have a great day.